The chilling, previously unseen interrogation footage of two 16-year-old perpetrators has surfaced, providing a haunting glimpse into their disturbed minds. I just took Cassie's life. We just left her house. Please understand that this is not some sick joke. I can't stop shaking. The image of her lifeless body fading away after I stabbed her in the throat. It was surreal. I can barely believe it myself. I just ended Cassie's life. It happened so fast, like a blur. Will you please be quiet? We need to compose ourselves and think straight. Face me, all right? These are the lost tapes of the screaming killers. Allison and Frank Contreras' 13-year-old daughter, Kelsey Contreras, found her cousin Cassie Stoddard dead in the living room. Her face was turned to the right, and her arms were raised above her head with slightly bent elbows. But here's the worst part. She had multiple stab wounds all over her body. The two most noticeable ones were in the middle of her chest and on her left leg. Now, let me tell you about Cassie. Cassie was such an amazing girl. She was trustworthy, responsible, and well-rounded. She had a shy personality, but a great sense of humor. She loved music and art, and she excelled in school. Can you believe she even wanted to become an attorney? Her aunt and uncle trusted Cassie to take care of their home while they were away. They had no idea what was about to unfold. There were these two guys from Pocatello High School, Brian Draper and Tori Adam, both 16-year-old juniors. Now, Brian was really into horror movies and played the drums, while Adam had his locker covered in posters of scary flicks and dreamed of becoming a filmmaker someday. Brian had his desire to leave a lasting impact on the world, you know? He said, "I've always wanted to make a mark on the world and stuff, and this is a good way to do it." Both developed a close friendship, but little did others know about their dark and violent tendencies. They had this plan, set to happen tonight, and they hoped nobody else would catch on. It's crazy how some people described Brian as friendly and happy, without realizing the twisted side of him that admired the perpetrators of the Columbine massacre. He was actually planning to carry out a similar attack on Pocatello High School. Adam was disturbed too, but he wasn't as fixated on Columbine as Brian was. Still, he shared those dark interests. It's strange, right? On the outside, Brian seemed more innocent, but it was reported that some people had a feeling that something was off about Adam. They were both seeking pleasure and fame through their sinister plans. So they decided they were going to document their journey, just like in that horror movie Scream. On the evening of September 22nd, 2006, a horrifying series of events unfolded in Bannock County, Idaho. Earlier that night, Brian and Adam had actually visited Cassie and Matt, watched a movie with them, just pretending to be normal friends. But Brian had a hidden agenda. He made an excuse to go down to the basement of the house, unlocking a door leading to the garage. He was preparing everything for what was to come later in the night. They wanted to cut off the lights, so they found an electrical panel in the basement to do just that. Brian even broke a couple of ashtrays on the stairway, hoping Cassie would hear the noise and come downstairs to investigate. But that plan failed. So, they decided to wait for Matt to leave the house, hoping to attack Cassie once she was alone. It didn't take long for their opportunity to arise. Adam called Matt and learned that his mother would soon be picking him up. Cassie, feeling scared after the strange occurrences of the night, asked if Matt could stay with her. But Matt's mother refused and instead offered for Cassie to spend the night at their place. However, being responsible, Cassie chose to stay and fulfill her commitment to watch the house and take care of the family's dogs. After Matt's departure, Brian and Adam, dressed in their black shirts and gloves and wearing these creepy red and white horror movie masks, sneaked upstairs. Brian closed the door, hoping to once again provoke Cassie to investigate the noise. But this time, they had no luck. Losing patience, they approached her in the living room. It's unclear who attacked Cassie first, but both of them started stabbing her repeatedly with their knives. They stabbed her in the chest, neck, trunk, and limbs. It's horrifying to even think about it. Reports say she endured around 30 stab wounds. Cassie Jo Stoddard took her last breath that night, September 22nd, 2006. Later, during the investigation, Brian confessed that Cassie's scream was nothing like what he had heard in the horror movies he loved. It was all too real. You see, they had been documenting their journey on tapes, starting in March 2006 and leading up to that fateful night of the murder. In those tapes, Brian started narrating their immediate plan, mentioning how they were vlogging their trip to another friend's house to check if she was home alone so they could kill her too. They were focused on achieving a high death count, and disturbingly enough, their desire for fame motivated this horrific act. As they discuss their plan, there's an interesting power dynamic between Brian and Adam. It's unclear who holds more influence over the other. They mention memories fading and reference a movie quote, showing their detachment from normality and their willingness to do something incredibly wrong. They feel the need to break away from the ordinary and embrace the element of surprise. They talk about how parents and religious beliefs are used to control children, dismissing the concept of God and religion. Adam seems to have a deeper understanding of complex topics, despite reports suggesting he struggles with critical thinking. They rebel against what they perceive as external reality, refusing to believe in God and indulging in the pleasure they find in killing. It's deeply disturbing to hear their rationalizations and how they reject societal norms. They believe that killing is only considered wrong because it goes against the law, but in their twisted perspective, they think it's simply a matter of natural selection. It's 9:50 p.m. on September 22nd, 2006. They speak calmly yet unnervingly about the grueling task that lies ahead, killing their two friends, who are just down the street in a nearby house. Listening to the recording, it becomes clear that these individuals have been contemplating this act for a long time. They confess to feeling nervous yet ready. In an attempt to calm their nerves, they listen to music from one of the greatest rock bands, Pink Floyd, as if seeking solace or inspiration before committing the ultimate crime. Then, in a disturbing revelation, Brian Draper describes the chilling moment when he ended Cassie's life. What is truly chilling is the clarity in Brian's voice as he relays these details. He speaks without hesitation or stumbling over his words, which contrasts sharply with his usual speech patterns. Brian was known to have a stutter, a characteristic that made him a target for bullying during his childhood. The forensic psychologist who evaluated him believed that the trauma he endured contributed to his violent tendencies. The absence of his stutter in this intense moment adds an eerie layer to the recording. It's as if the darkness within him has momentarily silenced his struggles, allowing him to fully embrace the horrors he has unleashed. The combination of environmental factors, genetics, and potential mental illness may have converged to shape his disturbing actions. As the recording continues, their voices oscillate between shock and a sickening euphoria. Brian's slurred and stuttering speech reemerges, highlighting the complex mix of emotions that consume him. In the midst of it all, he recounts the command Tori gave him to kill Cassie, emphasizing his individual responsibility rather than shared guilt. Their words are filled with a disturbing sense of detachment and disbelief. They describe the act as if it were a sick joke, unable to fully comprehend the magnitude of their heinous actions. The line between reality and a twisted fantasy blurs, and the recording becomes a haunting testament to the depths of human depravity. In the aftermath of their monstrous act, Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk were sentenced to life in prison. Their voices, forever captured in that recording, serve as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside within seemingly ordinary individuals. Their sentences ensure that they will spend the rest of their lives behind bars, a grim consequence for the innocent life they brutally took. Remember to subscribe to stay updated with more content like this. Together, let's work towards a safer and more compassionate world.